the book is a presentation as well. It's not a formal presentation, but it's something you're giving to somebody and you're praying that they're going to read it. They want to be sold, but they don't. They want to be marketed to, but they don't want to be sold. You have to know your audience, and so they have to feel your energy, and they have to within the book they have to feel that that you know your stuff and you're making a point. But at the same time, they don't want to be fluffed. They don't want to be sold. And I thought you did that too much in the book. It was too long. We'll never. I'm just telling you, it'll never get read. Maybe you fell victim to the fact that I had to do it at like 11:30 at night when it was late. But nonetheless, it was still too long. And so I think you have to carry that over in your presentation as well. This was not an audience that really cared. All we cared about was that you looked at the soils, that you looked at the environmental. We didn't need to know the makeup of the soils. You know, we needed to know the condo mix, etc. So,
yeah, as a prospective investor, I put in the board in tears. It was just too much information, and I think we all know that. So let's focus on what's positive. First of all, I love that sketch.
Peter Stromberg.
Peter
Stromberg.
It's awesome. It is interesting when you present and you present in a group, because I do this for a living as well. You're honestly, every project is you're selling. It has to be something that captivates you, that you say, wow, I get it. I want to select this team, or I want to invest in this project, right? Which is what you're going to be doing. And I think that it did get missed. We all know. So I want to know from you, maybe one word from each one of you. What was that one thing that was missed? Is it time management?
I feel like we had to weigh a lot of information because a lot of us come from different background in the real estate, so it was a lot of filing. I just think our time management when it comes to like cutting off when we were supposed to cut off and then to lead on, and I should have listened to my gut and then cut her off and say, Alex, let's go. I didn't do that, so I blame myself upon that. But as far as like our work, we spent a lot of time on it, so I just wish we just the time when we were talking, when we were rehearsing, we went a little overboard. We caught up upon that, but we went too much in debt because of nerves. So that's all I have to say about that.
No, I'm not looking for a dissertation of why.
It's just time management.
Part of their emotions.
I know. You found each other. It's like usually there's one person that does it, but yeah, all of you. So your one word.
Time management. I totally agree.
Practice. No practice.
Tired.
You got it. Thank you.
Alright, so I'm gonna pipe on this because this is the last time in your educational career where you actually can screw up, where you can make mistakes, and it will not cost you millions of dollars in investment, yeah, as a learning experience. And I think that's the positive part that comes out of classroom presentations with that judging panels in front of you. Next time you're doing this in a council meeting, you might succeed. I had two groups in this setup. Where I was actually checking with Fred about are they non-confirming bids. There was one Word document that wasn't opened, or openable, corrupt, that came in late as a PDF. Oh, finally there have been actually images in there and Word didn't show. And you guys had 71 pages on a 50-page limit. I stopped at page 50 reading, just to let you know.
What triggered that? Was that like a
I
number?
thought that was outside of the table of contents and cover page and.
It's in the first paragraph on the standards. I'm not really completely on those standards, but some parameters you gotta keep in place. Otherwise, you get 300 pages of appendix. You got actually all the essays done in 50 pages, and everything else was piling up additional material. I skimmed through that. I do agree with my colleagues here. I think it was a well-composed, intensively rich in details write-up. Here and there lacking on the sources. You can't just talk about 2 or 3 pages in details and you're not presenting where you get this information. But your presentation in terms of time management, how often did you actually run this presentation as a team with a timer? Be honest. Once, because it felt like it. Yeah. Presentations like this, you gotta have a mock-up audience. You have to have a bunch of friends who might not know anything about the topic, and you time it. At bare minimum 3 times you have to run this through. On the bottom left, I couldn't see that. I'm one of those age groupers where I have to get reading their classes again. 70 slides, 15 to 20 minutes. If you do a 15-minute time frame, that's 13 seconds per slide, including handoffs.
But 20 of them are just like for little renderings that we were flicking through at that point.
It's still, it's like
Yeah.
70 slides. It's more than I do for 4 hours of lecture. Yeah. So I think you guys completely got derailed and hurt by the casual language, the handoffs, and the time management, as in you are not getting the message out in time. This is like a 90-second elevator pitch. Combined with the floors you're doing, it's 15 minutes elevator pitch, and you miss that opportunity. Again, great write-up, detail-rich presentation because of the timing and cutoff, rather disappointing. Lessons learned. It's a good thing to have that in a classroom. On that note, even the 30 seconds, we had 2 years ago, we had airport presentations for Glusen Airport up in Henry County, $500 million project. 3 or 4 teams, $10,000 award money. The team that all had like puzzle pieces of good ideas. The team which actually had won the best puzzle piece submitted their final report 90 minutes after the deadline. And I had all judges agree, non-confirming bid. If it's 5 o'clock submission for the application with the city, it's 5 o'clock or earlier, but not 5:05. And the submission came after I yelled at them and saying, hey, where is your report? They could have made $5,000 or $6,000 in prize money for the first place. They didn't. Yeah? So lessons learned. This is not us being negative to you guys. As he says, positive reinforcement. You guys did an excellent job. You just did not deliver the timing. I'm out of time.
Good. Group 6. We're not 15 minutes ahead of schedule, which is a good thing.
I'm not going to let that happen. There's always space in us. So you satisfied that? You and I are we love page 1, let's go find page 9, let's go find page 8. Now we think like staff to deal with all the stuff. Someone has to look right here. I'd really like to see how they made the condo work. Because the other 5 teams said they couldn't do it.
You'll want to take like 60 seconds to decompress, and then we'll get started at 11:07.
Let's go. 11:07. Like to see
They're preparing you so that when you get to this,
it's just one little, you know, the good thing is, I say good thing, we all learn something we take home, and you know what? Everybody else here said to themselves,
Okay.
I gotta make sure I don't do that.
Hello everybody, how's everyone doing today? Doing good? Awesome. Well, my name is Armando Marti, and we're presenting the Hotel Nova. It's a development for Lauderdale, and working on the project we have Cynthia Garcia, we have James Carter, Armando Marti, hi. We have Jacques Pierre, and my man Bruce Fleming. Okay, so what do we want for this property? It's a very tight property. It sits on, both properties are, again, are 2/3 acres each, which completes around 1.3 acres of total building space. Now, there's not a lot of building space in the property, so things are going to kind of tight. It being a two-way street, it's already a tight avenue, and it's not, there's, just like you said, the street needs to be spruced up after construction begins, or you said, the street does need to be spruced up after construction, because it's just too tight for what's there. So what did we choose? We chose a 12-story hotel, retail, that encompasses 280 rooms, and has a parking garage of 480 space in total. Now, why did we choose this? I walked around the area. Mind you, I've lived in Florida for 25 years now, and mind you, I'm from Miami, so I don't know Fort Lauderdale too much. But I can tell you that Fort Lauderdale is not that fun. Fort Lauderdale is not that fun. Period. There's not a lot to do in the street in northeast 3rd Street, which is where the construction site is. And the walkability, even though the city has a high walkability, the walkability of the city is not that great. It's just, because we're in Miami, it's summer 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. Walkability is not that great in Fort Lauderdale, just too far. And especially in the area where the construction is, the residences, it's an abundance of residents. A lot of people live in there, but there's not a lot to do in the area. In order to get something to eat, if you want to walk to get something to eat after work, you have to walk at least 4.5 blocks. Anyways, so our lot A and lot B, the buildable square footage is 27,000 square feet. On lot A, we have the retail, we have 20,000 square feet of retail, 2 stories of retail. Now, we hope that that retail increases the walkability of the area. That retail is specifically there to make the area, the residential area, you know, have a better, a better time to enjoy yourselves. And regulatory analysis.
So I'll be doing regulatory, just a short description. As we know, it is zoned for city center district, and this is actually the definition of the city. So it says zoning district will permit mixed-use development, including high-intensity commercial uses, as well as downtown residential housing. One thing to note is that they do require on the ground floor of the buildings to have retail. So those streets where pedestrian activity is encouraged. This is just a map of the flood zone. It's not located in a flood zone area. As you can see, only the red is flood zone. And based on the lot coverage, it would be 27,000 square feet. And there is a setback of 10 feet, as you can see the next slide. So on 3rd Street, this is the south side lot. There is a 10 feet setback, and the levels above the 8th floor has to be a 25 feet setback.
So due to the market analysis, we want to take the highest and best use approach. Essentially, we looked at the area, we did the traditional 5, 3, and 1 mile demographic study. Then we kind of focused in on a 1 mile radius, and then we kind of just wanted to look at that immediate area that we were in and what were the developments in that area over the recent years. We used the highest and best use approach, what would be the best product in this site for this area at this time. And then looking at that, we kind of went through 3 questions of what's there, what's not there, and what's not needed. Anyone familiar with the Fleckler site knows that there's abundance of residential, almost to the point where it's too much. There's over 10,000 units, and there's like 3,000 more coming online. And that's just what's in construction, not what's in permitting and development. Next slide. So we decided that a hotel would be a very viable option for that area. As you can see, there's only 4 other hotels of comparable quality within that immediate area. You have the Element by Marriott, the Del Mar, the Hampton Inn, and the Fairfield Inn. A lot of the new residential, hospitality construction is geared more towards the luxury beach type goers, and then you have the mid-scale that's along the edges of suburbs in Greater Fort Lauderdale. But in this area, we wanted to decide to take advantage of all the development and the that's going on in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Next slide. As you can see, some of the area attractors is that the city of Fort Lauderdale is moving to make the downtown area a central business district. They're very hard to bring in a lot of businesses. And there's already major businesses down there. We have Styles, we have Bank of America, we have Uniform Advantage, we have Fox Sports. So you see there's a lot of businesses down there. Also, Fat Village is arts district that's, some say, comparable to Wynwood in Miami, and this is going to continue to develop over the years. And we also have Brightline that's bringing in that's a high-speed rail system that brings in a lot of commuters doing business in the city of Fort Lauderdale. As was mentioned before, there's a retail requirement for development along that area. So we decided to take full advantage of that by expanding that retail to 20,000 square feet over two levels. And as you see, we did a leakage surplus, and we identified some areas where we might be able to maximize the retail component of our development.
Okay, and our proposed development, again, 280 rooms, 12 stories on Lot A, and in Lot B we have 7 stories, 4 stories of garage and 3 stories of conference, gym, and a rooftop pool. On Lot A, we have 2 stories of retail, and which includes restaurants on the first floor, and really whatever you want to put in that retail. We suggest you put more towards the business side, like FedEx, Kinko's, so people that are in there in Fort Lauderdale for business. They can mail whatever they need to mail, whether it's files or just whatever they need to do. And our team's mission was to bring life to the area. We saw that the area was a lot of residential, not enough to do. There's not enough to do, just period. So we wanted those people that live there to have something to do after hours, after work. People don't want to walk 4 blocks, 4.5 blocks to grab a pizza or whatever they want to eat. They want to walk a reasonable amount, a block, block and a half, maybe not even. With this project, you don't have to walk 20 feet to get to your whatever you want to eat. And we just want to bring life to the area, and this is the best part, the best way of doing it. If we just did retail, it'd be too much retail, too little parking. So we did hotel to have a little bit of movement while having more of a calm area. We don't want too much movement because that just annoys the people living there. So this was our project, and this is our best idea so far. The hotel facilities, we have, again, 24-hour gym, rooftop pool, 8 conference halls, 20,000 square feet of retail and restaurant, dry cleaning, event planning, and concierge. Financial analysis.
My name is Jack, and our team, we went 2 different models. Our first assumption was to build a 200-room hotel, but this assumption failed the financial test because the number did not add up at the end, and we go to a different model where we increase our potential for revenue, where we have more rooms and more retail space. So our construction costs will be $97,395, and we are trying to have a 70-30% loan to value, and we come with 30% of the cost, 33% of the cost. Why? Because we allow the cost to build, the interest to build into the equity during construction. And according to our model, this is what our revenue will be, and our expenses, and the construction will be built during 27 months. And we perceive that will be our stabilization period will be during the the 42nd months. That's our projection to be stabilized at 42nd months. And here, I'm going to just talk about this model here.
All right, this is slide number 4, our financing assumptions. All right, so our total development costs, go back one more. You'll see here our land costs we put in at $6 million, our soft costs 13, building hard costs 47, and site setup cost at $1 million, bringing our total base cost to $68 million, with our developer fee of 7.5% coming out to $5.1 million, and our contingency of 20% coming out to $14 million. These are our use of capital. If you see here, our total uses came up to 97 million, and our sources of capital match up at 97 million. If you look here at our permanent debt, so our total construction period was 30 months. 10 months for pre-construction, and then 20 months for construction. And if you see here, at month 42, is when we have our refinance, and at that time period, our NOI is 6.8 million. If you back into that with a cap rate of 9%, that brings your total value to 76 million at the time of refinance. And then we use the 85% LTV to get to 64, and we use that to pay off our construction loan. Then go here. Right here. So if you see your valuation at sell date, it's 91 million. At 91 million, our permanent debt at the time of sale is 60 million. Once we pay that off, we have proceeds of 28 million. Our selling cap rate is 8.5. We assume 2.5 on this closing cost, and these are our returns for the model. And if you go on to the next slide here, our concluding remarks.
Can you go back real quick?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to make sure I saw what it is.
All right, our concluding remarks. As you can see, there's a certain degree of support for a full-service corporate hotel in downtown Fort Lauderdale, but more concrete information needs to be sourced. We need to do a penetration analysis to properly estimate the occupancy rates going forward. We need to get competitive set historical trends for rates at the competitive set to properly estimate ADR going forward. And we need historical operating data, which is hard to source because we need to create a pro forma going forward. And getting those audited financials for a comparable hotel is hard to do. So we would need those, that information sourced to do proper analysis. But there are certain information within the market analysis that would support full service corporate hotel. Questions?
So I read through the written report a number of times, and I couldn't get a handle on what it was that the group was trying to say. You get halfway down page 4 before you tell us what you're building. The number of typographical errors, general sloppiness with the paragraph and sentence, construction and structure, etc. Page 19 used a retail comp from Davie for downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I thought that was interesting. Pages 27, 28 had the same graph twice. It didn't seem like there were much in the way of financials in the written report, unless I missed it. It seemed like there were maybe 2 or 3 charts most, but it didn't work us through as much detail as could have been included. I know that it can be tough sometimes if a group comes together and maybe has different writing styles or different experience levels. It didn't seem like anybody went through the report at the end of it and made sure that all the writing was being written the same way and all of it was being structured the same way and said what wanted to be said. And I felt the same about the presentation. The presentation wandered and never really quite got us to the point where this is the project that we're building. this is why we think we should build it, this is what it's gonna cost, and this is why we need to do it. Just some of the fundamentals of it. Yeah, I'll leave it to Gloria.
You're proposing a hotel, so if you're talking about a hotel investment, one of the things you need to look at is what's your comp set? What's your average daily rate? And don't use ADR on your presentation without explaining what that is. What's the RevPAR? Is this a full-service hotel? Is this a limited service hotel? What's your flag? What's your flag gonna be? Is this gonna be a Marriott? Is it gonna be a Choice, a Kimpton, or who are you talking to?
James, if you could. Yeah, we decided to go non-branded. We looked at the branding options, and we figured with all the franchise fees and branding fees, it would interfere with what we were trying to get as towards a return. So we figured if we go non-branded, and then maybe down the road to get an option of being taken over by a brand or approaching a brand, it would be better for our frontline cost returns.
Okay, so that wasn't explained, and I think that's key to anybody who's looking at a hotel. Your regulatory analysis did not touch on whether a hotel is a permissible use in this area. The market analysis also wasn't tailored to a hotel. You talked about the demographics and the neighborhood and people walking to the restaurants. You really should discuss what are the demand generators for a corporate hotel. What's going to bring people to occupy your hotel? As far as restaurant space, you might want to reconsider that, because even a limited service hotel is probably going to have an F&B component. They're going to have a restaurant, they're going to have maybe a bar inside the hotel. You could be cannibalizing your own project by putting in a restaurant on the premises. On your pro forma, your development costs don't take into account FF&E, furniture, picture, and equipment. That's a huge component to a hotel cost, a development cost. You don't break out your revenues between room revenue and F&B revenue, and most hoteliers will tell you that they're going to be focused on the room revenue. The F&B is like a nice extra, but they're not going to be relying on it. Someone mentioned 2 stories of retail. My experience is a retail background, and 2 stories is tough to make work in many cases, so something to take into consideration. As far as the report, I was shocked, to be honest. It's poorly written. There's things that just don't even make sense on your financial pro forma, for example. You have $8 million of revenue coming from the retail. Just do the math, divide that by $35 to put on the rent. You're building a power center on this project. It doesn't make sense. There were just grammar mistakes. I don't want to go on, but this really was very lacking on the report side. So it was somewhat disappointing to see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we can go right down the table, I'm sure. Same thing. But just trying to get our hands on a few things. I don't know why the report was so poorly written. I mean, you're all college graduates and everything, but the grammar and the punctuation and the syntax, it just wasn't there. Run-on sentences, I mean, it was crazy. But anyway, cutting through all that, just no particular order. A non-brand hotel is doable, but it's very expensive. Because Marriott gets an insurance break because they got 1,000 hotels. Okay, you will wind up paying top fee for everything, because you don't have the collective buying power of the flags.
And that
So,
the furniture, the fixture.
that may push your room rate right out of the box, because of that. And then parking. You didn't talk about what the parking requirements or for a hotel. Now, we know for an office building, there are none in Fort Lauderdale, but is that true for a hotel? And of course, as Gloria said, a hotel, one of the crazy components is what we call food and beverage. I mean, I built a lot of food and beverage operations. I'm going to tell you, it was the worst. I hated it all the time, because it's a very difficult thing to keep under regimented control. Buying food every day and all those different things, it's a whole other business. So you're creating a business in a business in a business. And you make it very difficult to have this as a smooth investment, okay? So, and I think, yeah, I didn't, I read enough, but I think there's something to be learned here by everybody. Okay?
Yeah. I'm not even really sure exactly where to start, but let me be very constructive to try to at least, and that's why we're here. We're not here to pick at you. We're not going to waste our Saturday to do that. The reason we're here is to try to help and to teach if we can. So in presentation, stay away from the weak words. Stay away from kind of, and I think, and probably. Whether you believe it or not, be positive. This is what's going to happen, okay? Because anything short of that, you don't get anywhere. Secondly, Armando?
Yes.
Okay. You have a very casual style to you. That's, no, it's not a compliment. It's fine, and it's going to work sometimes to other people, but in a big audience, and particularly in a professional, formal presentation, you run a huge risk of pissing people off. And it's like getting a robocall, or a cold sales call. The person, a completely alien voice gets me on the phone and says, "Eric, how are you doing today?" And I know I don't know them. What's my initial response? Is I want to hang up.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be very careful about that. I'm saying that because I'm trying to be constructive.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pick at
No
you.
worries.
You also have to be very careful about being negative. Because you may be pitching to the guy who owns the restaurant that's 3 blocks away that you just offended because there's no place to eat in the area.
Yeah.
You have to be careful about that stuff. And, look, there's a lot of things wrong with the book and the presentation. I won't dwell on those, but if you want to do this, if you want to do this business, then you got to pay attention. You got to put in the time, and you got to work a little bit harder than what you guys clearly did on this. Otherwise, don't waste your time.
I'd just like to add one thing that he said. When you said that Fort Lauderdale was no fun in comparison to Miami, I mean, you killed the deal right there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well, I'm just trying to.
because we want to say positive. Fort Lauderdale on its own has all of these amenities and all these good things. Does it compare to Miami? Maybe not. Maybe it does. Does it compare to New York? No. We're talking about Fort Lauderdale. Does this fit in Fort Lauderdale? Are we adding to the landscape? Are we doing all that? That's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, I was talking more about the immediate area. Now we're talking about Fort Lauderdale. My
And
mistake.
we're not here just to have fun.
Oh, of course not.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a quick story. For one of our clients, we were asked to help interview architects. In many of the cases that we do what we do as designers and planners, we match our clients with architects, hoteliers, help them find financing, all of the above. It's just what we do as land planners. And we had a great presentation from Robert Stern for a huge project up in Virginia. And the guy, he's bigger in life, he's gold, he's done it before, he's proven it. As he was leaving, he made a very snide comment about the accommodations of the meeting. Dead. They're all right. You actually started out that way. So we could have just stopped, we could have just stopped. I think it's very, very important that you always remember to be respectful, no matter what the situation is. Okay? No matter what, I know you're very cavalier.
Oh, yeah.
I feel it. I feel it.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, it was very similar to the presentation we had
We just
years
talked
ago,
about it.
where one of the presenters was so gregarious and so into it, and didn't feel like the rest of his team was good enough, so he stood to the side. You're doing that right now.
No, he actually sat down. In the mock-up, he sat down. In the mock-up, he actually sat down.
You guys are a team, you're development partners. If you can't work together, no one's gonna invest in you. Why would they do that? So, again, this is all about learning, right? You're so lucky that you get the time to practice, okay? And many developers practice in the real world and they lose money, right? So, learn as much as you can right here, because it's very, very important. First of all, you're investing your money and time, right? And we're investing our time and resources and knowledge because we care about this program. We want you to succeed. If you don't succeed, it doesn't help this program, because you need to really, really think clearly about it, okay? Is this really what you want to do? Is this how you want to invest your money? Is this how you want to spend your time? And then go do it. You know, don't ask questions, don't be all concerned about, is this the right thing or not? Go do it. Okay?
I do. So my colleagues call me happy because I'm really, really, really great with positive reinforcement. I still have no sense of humor. Let's put this in the other way. There has been a lot of criticism noted, so I don't need to add details on this. I actually applaud you guys for thinking outside of the box and going for hotels. Because when I read this, well, it wasn't really clear from page 1 what you guys want to do, but when I read this, it's like, oh, where's this coming from? Oh, they might be onto something. Oh, the ADR calculations and the DEVL and all the typical metrics for hotels is pathetic. So I wrote down pretty much here, for particularly for financial analysis, did you actually talk to someone who develops hotels? We had in last semester in development, one of the speakers here, we had 3 specialists, one is sitting here, that are involved in investment or building or construction of hotels. I completely missed that fact. There should have been 1 or 2 quotes, hey, we called up this guy, we talked up these guys, or a notion, hey, there might be an issue, challenge to get equity in as investors and all that. Nothing. We did actually a conclusion, which I found really nice, pointing out like a research paper, in future steps, in future reports should have this or that. Well, you had all summer. Why don't you touch this? Even if it's short, you touch everything else a little bit short, but why not? All right, positive and reinforcement. I think the hotel idea was great. Wanted to see a little bit more about how many rooms are there, how many keys, a little bit more on that hoteling structure, like what we call landscapes of retail, landscapes of hotels. I think in the context of Fort Lauderdale, it's not good enough just to look at half-mile radius. You have to look further out, particularly if you have the airport so close. It's Uber right. So there's some substance you can add to those bones, particularly if you decide those phones are hotel. I think you should have reached out more to folks in the industry and made that clear. Because then you can say, well, we are not 100% sure, but we got some backing from industry partners, and this is the route we can go. In terms of the presentation, again, we just for the fun of it, we talked about it earlier. He came in for mock-ups a week before the final presentations with judging panels, and we had a team member who was done with his part, sat down in the back next to me. You are one team. There's this really funny movie called Drumline. It's really annoying and waste of time, but there's this one line that they're doing in there. One band, one sound. If you present as a team, it has to be in harmony. Yeah? One team, one big message. And you guys gotta work on this. You're in different stages on the program. I wrote down for presentation style negative and insulting. You don't come to someone's home and pitch a project and bitch about, sorry for the French language, and bitch about the carpet or the attire in the living room. Yeah? You come in with a $100 million investment for a hotel in the neighborhood that has some downsides right now. You want to be the catalyst to add value to that neighborhood, to the to the living style, the quality of life, the whole live. And I'm done with this, with renting all. I think you guys actually really had something cool going on, and you got a little bit lost with the many trees in the forest. This would have been a great thing about like flying over the forest and give those mile markers only, and not details, too much details. Yeah, lessons learned.
Great. Thank you.
I did like that model.
Yeah,
Okay, so we are officially done. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to try to keep this very straightforward. Basically, you can make your way to room 3000, which is just down the hall. It's through the double doors next to the elevators. You kind of go through those and around. That's where lunch will be served, probably right around noon, maybe a few minutes before. The judges will hang out here for a few minutes and kind of wrap up their work. But all the rest of you are free to go to the other room, and I'll join you down there in a few minutes. And Brian, okay, Brian, you guys take care of moving.
What was that? I heard my.
Wait, we come back here.
We gotta move everything?
Yeah.
All right. A little bit far.
Oh, we come back here.
No, I don't think so. If he's thinking of stuff.
You don't.
Lunch is there.
What's the question? You don't have to. Yes, yes. The judges have to be left alone. You can probably leave stuff. I don't know if you guys are coming back. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna take I mean, like, it's a balance between what school requires and what a developer requires, right?
Like I'm a little finicky on what I shoot. I think you change around. I don't want to take it from me down there. I'd rather you enjoy it, but enjoy it for me, okay?
This will